Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you my opinions and thoughts on Bmnr stock going forwards into this new and upcoming week. I'll be sharing everything based on what we are seeing here, again giving my thoughts and opinions on what is going on and what I think could potentially be coming in the next couple of days. If it does sound like a good video to watch, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe, but as always remember, I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Anyway, let's jump straight into the video and get on with this immediately. So, as you will know, the past month or so has really been a declining period for this stock. You know, we've seen this one down in the past month from the highs of well in excess of 30%. And yeah, we are still seeing the remnants of that massive rise, up 50%. However, again, since then, we've basically been moving down. The 6-month period, again, you are seeing the consequences of that major rise, taking us up over 2,000, actually nearly 3,000%, before dropping quite substantially, and again, even to where we are now, we're still up 860% or more. Very impressive overall. And the question then becomes, where do we go from here? Well, I think there's a few things to consider, and this context, right, this graph as it is shown here, puts things again into context a bit more clearly. This stock is still up big. This stock is still doing relatively well. And even compared to the lows that we saw in August, we are at a relatively strong point. And being as we dropped essentially substantially and consistently, the question is where do we find our supports? Well, for me, I'm looking for historical levels. With the stock being at this point, it's quite hard to actually reference any. However, we are now coming into a very important and significant range. This range from about 38.50 all the way up to about 43. A range of consistent support for this stock. Again, you can see the line that I'm drawing here down to the 38.80 mark, and you can see it all the way up there to about 41, 42 really, right? We are finding supports in this range a good couple of times. There's a 1 period, 2, 3 for example. You see this being a consistent trend. Now, eventually we did break to the downside, but again, being as we've been significantly higher, right, since, again, we're going way back up to these levels, and actually around about where we were last time. So being as we've gone significantly higher, being as the trend is broadly, and I say this very loosely, right, but broadly starting to slow, again, you see this period from about, I'm going to call it the 22nd, you see that trend, yes, we are still going down, but the line is not perhaps so linear. It's becoming a little bit more, softened, which could indicate the fact that we could potentially, depending on your approach or viewpoints, be coming to this level where we could see a turnaround. And here's just another level where we found this as a support in the past. So, is it necessarily going to hold up? No. But are we coming up to a very important level that has historically mattered? Yes, right? At the very low end, you're looking into the 38 range, into the high 38s. Although you could make an argument, being as we have already bounced off of that point, again, very recently here, that we might be out of that trouble. Now, my opinion on it is very simple. I think there's every possibility that in the next few trading days, this one's going to bounce off of this 38.50 to 38.80 range. That would still not be the worst thing in the world. Now, my concerns would really start to come when we drop into the 37s or below. That is essentially uncharted territory to the downside. And then, of course, the nearest level of support is going to be way down at 30. A drop past this point would matter a lot. So holding on to this range, again, call it 38 to 43. That is a very crucial range on the very low end to hold up. It matters a lot. Then you're looking at upside potential. However, I don't necessarily want to highlight any major levels to look for this week. I think it's as basic as 43.95. You're seeing difficulty here, and here breaking past that. A break above that point could be significant. However, we're still, as a main objective, I think, we're trying to combat this downside pressure, which we are constantly seeing affecting the stock day by day, right? So a slowdown in this and a bounce off of these levels could signify a potential trend change. I mean, like I say, at this period of time, it did break to the downside. However, at this period of time, it held up and we went even higher. So it's going to be very much a make or break period. I think the interest in this stock to a large degree is still there. The question is, are these levels able to hold? If not, if we see a drop out of this range, even if it's briefly, I think that does indicate more downside for the majority, or at least for the midterm future, right? if we are able to see this hold and even a bounce up to, like I say, maybe 45, 46, that would be a very bullish sign, especially considering the fact that will be one of the first major green days or green periods that we've had really since the stock was even as high as it was a couple of weeks ago in the late part of August. So this is going to matter a lot this week. Again, that's the range to the downside that I would be paying attention to. You could make an argument that that would be an interesting point to buy at, but again, it also depends what your risk tolerance is. For me, I'd like to see a bit more confirmation of this before I would personally be comfortable buying, but that's just my opinion. You guys can take this with any approach that you fancy. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed this short video. Again, if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It would help me a lot, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.